just finished a hard session, just an idea, just if this helps just one person, ideally 100,000 people, but if this helps just one person, because it really helps me, then it will be good. When you're kind of in a hard session, and especially I'm talking interval session, but this will also work for your weekend long run, especially if, like me, you have a dedicated portion of that run that is at marathon pace or marathon pace plus 10% or race pace, whatever it is you're training for, which I'll often do to kind of mix up the energies within the long run. But when you're focused and in an interval session, like just right now, that was 10 times 2 minutes. So these are quite short interval sessions right now, but still your kind of heart rate is getting up there, you're recovering in between. And I'm kind of constantly monitoring my heart rate to see what's happening on my watch, to see what's happening in my body. Essentially, that is your engine. And that's the stuff that is your stroke volume, the amount of blood that you can get out per beat, is what is getting all the oxygen essentially to the muscles and is allowing you to move forward faster and gradually faster and faster as that becomes more efficient, together with, you know, a bigger beat is able to kind of get more blood and is therefore able to get more oxygen to the muscles. And then couple that with being able to kind of play with your heart rate at different levels, it correlates nicely to what I'm actually trying to do. So I'm constantly looking at my heart rate and I'm making sure that that's in the right zone for me. And I don't want to get into zones right now, but this is how you can pull your heart rate back and practice for any kind of race situation, but also to allow yourself to do more within an interval session. So to run faster in an interval session, or to recover faster in an interval session, or to control. And interval sessions are all about control. They're all about control, consistency, and being able to pace that interval session. So if you're doing 10 times 2 minutes and your first two are really quick, but you've blown yourself up for the rest of the session, that's not great. But to control your heart rate, if you're in fight or flight mode for the entire interval session, it's not going to work. Your heart rate will gradually drift up, there is some heart rate drift anyway because of dehydration. But if you can kind of like compose yourself at the end of each interval and kind of within that 60 seconds rest or however long it is you're giving yourself, and say, right, okay, my form needs to be 100% for the next interval. So your push off, your landing midfoot, your push off is strong, it's engaging your glute, and your stride length is right, depending on whether you're running hills or flat or downhill maybe, whatever it is you're doing. Your stride length, you're in control of everything. And if you're in control of your body, if you're in control of your form, if you're in control of kind of your form is as efficient as possible, then your heart rate will naturally be lower because your entire body is moving forward more efficiently. So it's a bit like a car. There's like a sweet spot for a car, which is, I think it used to be when I remember kind of growing up, it was like 56 miles an hour would be the most efficient, depending on the size of the car and the engine, etc. But 56 miles an hour used to be kind of the sweet spot where the car would be most economical. It's a bit like that. If you've got your glutes firing and they're doing the big work, and the big power muscles are doing the work for you, if your arms are efficient, so there's no kind of inefficiencies like you're kind of struggling to get through rep 7 and 8 and it's like that, and everything's kind of working on naturally your heart rate. And if you watch it and if you think about it, that okay, what my kind of goal for the first 20 seconds of this rep is to still keep my heart rate in zone 1, like for me below 130 beats, then that's a pretty good tool if you think about it, for a race situation, for your next interval situations, and for your ability within an interval to go faster, as I said before, and to recover quicker. And again, once you step off, like I was just on a treadmill, once you step off the treadmill, or once you step off the track or the tarmac in order to kind of take that 60 seconds or however long your recovery is, again, compose yourself. Like my objective now within the next 45-60 seconds is to lower my heart rate as much as possible. And that's not only going to help you in races when you kind of gone into the red and you need to pull it back a bit, so you need to slow down and get your heart rate down. That, if you're not used to doing that, that will take you quite a long time. We're talking quite a few minutes, if not tens of minutes. Whereas if you're used to doing it in intervals, it's very easy to slow down, just 20 seconds per kilometer, and all of a sudden your heart rate will drop very, very quickly. And it becomes a superpower and a nice little trick for you within a race. To think about that, next time you're doing an interval session, focus on form. It's easy, and I'll always say, like, all that easy running that you're doing, 70 or 80% of your total volume, your total running, is all easy, and that's a great time to focus on your form. It's a great time to think about where your feet are landing under your body, which part of your foot is actually hitting the ground and which part of your foot is actually pushing off, and where your arms are, and that is your kind of toe, your ankle, your knee, your hip. Are they all aligned? It's easy to do that when you're doing your easy running, so you should be doing it out there, because if you're practicing it for 70-80% of your running, then naturally that should cross over. I've got a bit of a lisp because I've got braces in, but that should naturally cross over into your interval session, into your long run. And it's easier to do that in your long run because your long run is often not as fast as the interval. But when you're in an interval and it's a tough interval session, and that should be nicely set out so it's manageable for you, but it puts your body under stress, so that there's a super compensation element there, so that next time you do that, it feels a bit easier, or you're able to add more load, or you're able to add more speed. Becomes a superpower. So get used to it, and getting the right form and optimal form will allow your heart rate to come down because your body is naturally more efficient. Good luck.